So let's talk about Deserto, because believe it or not, I'm the first dude to review this shit in English, alright? So Deserto is going to be kind of one of those movies that kind of get a lot of controversy. Why? Because we kind of live in a very PC world, and particularly doing to subject matter, just in general. Now, depending on what you support, what you believe in, whatever it may be, this movie could probably offend you, or you might actually think of this as a very big wet dream come November 8th, okay? So let's talk about, Deserto just in general. And I feel like Deserto is actually a pretty good movie, particularly because it succeeds on the two lead performances by Barnell and also Jeffrey Dean Morgan themselves. I think the two do a very good job, particularly Barnell, which does a very good job of showcasing kind of like eye acting for the most part, because you sense like this dude is fucking terrified when Jeffrey Dean Morgan is coming to play, pinned a fucking, bullet on top of an illegal alien. I feel like you actually really do believe this guy's kind of scary, just in general. Now, Jeffrey Dean Morgan himself is also a very good character for the most part, even though I feel like both of these guys' characters, they really don't get that much to really, work with for the most part. I feel like one guy's just being the hunter, the other guy's being the hunted, and that's pretty much all it really is. Even though both guys played their part very well, I just feel like it could have been a little bit more just to begin with. Now, even though this movie does kind of start off slow, and I feel like that could have been used just in general to kind of build up some character development, particularly because of the other immigrants. Just in general, there's a lot of immigrants in here. But I'm telling you this right now, this is fucking legit, right? Once the bullet starts flying, it just becomes a very intense game of like duck, duck, goose, or as I said before, a very intense game of like pin the bullet to the illegal immigrant. And I will say this, these fucking immigrants really do fucking walk longer than maybe anybody in the Fellowship or Frodo or whatever you want to call this shit, right? Just in general. Now, for me personally, I do wish they kind of did give some character development to some of the immigrants, because I feel like once they start getting picked off one by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I just feel as if it would have been better if we kind of learned anything from them, because they sense to just kind of feel like a little bit like extras from slasher film, or just like, red shirts from Star Trek. You really don't give a fuck about them. You kind of do, I guess, if you're kind of a human and you care about human life. But other than that, you really don't give a fuck about the characters. And that goes for everybody, even Bernal and even Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character, they never really go into any detail as to why he kind of hates these people. Is he racist? Is he just crazy? They slightly show that he's maybe drunk, but I don't need everything to be, spoon-fed to me. But at least give me some sort of details to kind of make me really give a shit. But otherwise, Jeffrey Dean Morgan does a really good job. Now, the next thing pretty much is the musical score, just in general, which I think is fucking fantastic. I mean, this musical score is so good, to me at least. It's so good that it would get your heart rate beating really, really fast, and really just adds to the suspense. I'm telling you this right now. You would literally start to probably feel like you're one of these fucking, immigrants making a run for the damn border, and, seeing that fucking crazy dog just coming right after you, about to bite your ass, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan about to just, pop one in your head. And that goes to the next thing also. The dog is fantastic. I mean, like, this dog will give Cujo a fucking run for his money, because it's that damn good, this dog. I really believe this dog was just, like, very terrifying, hunting down Tracker, I believe the dog name is. But I thought it was actually quite good, just in general, the dog. But yeah, I thought this movie is actually quite interesting, because it is kind of a fucked up reality, because this is kind of like, it's a fucked up movie, but it's mainly messed up, mainly due to the fact that how close it is kind of like to the real world that we kind of live in. And I feel like that's really what made it kind of like work out well. I feel like it feels kind of relatable for the most part. And even though it does feel a little bit kind of like stupid in some points. But either way, I feel like this movie actually did a really good job at trying to showcase a little bit of cat and mouse thing. I just wish they kind of put a little bit more character development into the thing. But otherwise, this is a pretty straightforward movie. Hunter hunts down the hunted. That's pretty much it. There's nothing really else to it. But overall, I would say I enjoyed myself with this movie. It's not the world's greatest film, but I enjoyed it for the most part. And I think it's definitely worth a watch, particularly for the music and, the performances in general. And it does kind of get a little bit scary and does have a little bit of a horror vibe to it. But that's just my thoughts. Comment, subscribe, and like if you are on this side of the border. I'm Chris Smith, and I'm signing out. It's a joke.